Good afternoon, America. This is John Warden with the Life Aid Hope YouTube channel. Today, we're going to watch a video on in 5 days, the VA is making some changes to survivor benefits that can hopefully streamline the process. Let's take a look.
Making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Breaking news, the VA has just announced changes to VA veteran benefits. And I wanted to jump in on this because this is actually going into effect February 23rd. There's a lot of changes happening out there. I'm trying to keep up with them. Some good, some bad, some, whatever, who cares? But it's important for us to be aware of what is going on so we can, A, support what's happening, oppose what's happening, or at least just be aware for our own sanity that what's happening out there. So with
It's really important for veterans to get their voice out there. Whatever you can do, whether you're for it or against it, but your VA, you need to make your voice heard.
that, hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. So this was just announced through Newsweek. This is actually the article that I'm going to read. It just came out, again, February 15th, 2026. Sharing it with you here today. And starts off with the Department of Veterans Affairs has finalized a new rule that it says is designed to streamline certain decisions around veteran survivor benefit claims. A move, the agency says, will result in faster decisions and quicker payments for survivors. Now, that
is a huge thing for surviving spouses. There's survivor benefits entitled to the spouses, surviving spouses of veterans who pass away, and it's really it previously had been an arduous and long bureaucratic process. So anything they're doing to speed that up is really important because those surviving members, they depend on those benefits because they were getting them when the service member was alive. And then once the service member passes, they need those benefits in order to pay their rent, pay their utility bills, survive in life.
is all good stuff. This is really specifically talking about dependency indemnity compensation, DIC. And again, look, if it doesn't affect you today, it might affect you in the future. So it's important to understand this type of stuff as we move forward. So the VA's new survivors benefits rule. Previously, under existing regulation, the VA had to individually process survivors' claims for dependency and indemnity compensation, DIC. And for those that don't fully understand DIC and the value of that benefit, I'm going to touch on it at the end of going through this, which is going to be fairly short, and just give you a nice overview of dependency indemnity compensation. I'll throw this part out there, though. Dependency indemnity compensation kind of acts like a life insurance for the veteran for their survivors. Okay, a life insurance for their survivors is kind of how it acts, and it's paid out kind of like an annuity.
And really what the rule is that the new rule says that the surviving spouse or claimant, whichever benefit is higher, whether it's the DIC or whether it's the survivor's pension, usually the DIC is going to be higher, but that payment, whichever one is higher, is going to be paid without delaying to fully process the other benefits. So it's a really important change.
Monthly payment, tax-free, of course, and there's a sliding scale. There's a base amount, and then there's different add-ons that can create a higher amount of DIC. All right, so in addition to DIC, there's also these changes to survivor's pension. Again, another, benefit that's really not talked about. Veterans sometimes understand that there is a veteran's pension instead of disability compensation, but there's also a surviving spouse pension, a survivor's pension that is also available. It is not the preferred. DIC is preferred 1,000 times over. DIC is the way you want to go. However, if the survivor does not qualify for DIC, they may qualify for survivor's pension if they are low or no income. All right, so this often, by having to do the individual process for these survivor type claims, the ability for the VA to get through this stuff was really slowed.
One of the things that Secretary Collins said when they rolled this out is that he comments that this is a common sense change that streamlines the survivor's claims process, hoping to reduce administrative burden and deliver quicker decisions to those surviving spouses and beneficiaries during those tough times. There is some interesting bureaucracy around if someone was in a nursing home and whether they were receiving Medicaid covered nursing or some type of Medicaid coverage. So you definitely have to look into that and get some good advice.
It slowed down the decisions because each benefit required a separate formal review. So now that's the old individual kind of case-by-case thing. Now, under the new rule, which will be effective from February 23rd, 2026, which is practically now, the VA will pay a surviving spouse or child claimant whichever benefit is higher, either the DIC or the survivor pension, which is great. So this is what's happening now. Instead of the beneficiary trying to figure out which one is better for them, the VA will figure it out for them. This one's better than this one.
And really what it is, the DIC is a tax-free benefit paid to surviving spouses, children, or parents. So if your service member, like for example, died in the line of duty or their death was directly connected to their service-related conditions, the DIC definitely applies, and it's usually almost always a bigger benefit.
I will tell you this, that in the event that a survivor needs to file for survivor's benefits, absolutely try to find a good, capable, and competent, free accredited resource, as it is a labor-intensive process to apply for this stuff. All right, so let's move on here. So it's great that they are going to pick which one is the higher and best for the beneficiary. The agency says the higher benefit is usually the DIC, which is why I was saying that that's the preferred. Without delaying payment for fully process the lesser benefit. Without delaying payment to fully process the lesser benefit. Okay, so typically, you know, they're going to pay out the DIC, but they are going to pick whichever benefit is higher, either the DIC or survivor's pension, without delaying payment. So that's great. The VA identified one exception. If the claimant is the veteran's surviving spouse, has no dependents, is residing in a nursing home, and has applied for and has applied for or is receiving Medicaid, then the survivor's pension will be awarded instead of DIC. If the surviving spouse has no dependents, is in a nursing home, and has applied or is receiving Medicaid, then the automatic will be survivor's pension instead of DIC. Under the new rule, when a surviving spouse stops Medicaid covered nursing home care, DIC may become effective as of the date Medicaid coverage ended, if a claim is filed within 1 year. Conversely, if a spouse receiving DIC begins Medicaid covered nursing home care and otherwise qualifies for survivor's pension, the pension may take effect on the first day of the month after DIC ends, provided a claim is filed within 1 year. VA.
One of the things to keep in mind is that what they're really doing, what the VA is doing, is it's moving the Office of Survivors Assistance into the office of the VA Secretary. That's going to create what they hope is what they're calling a white glove outreach team to guide the survivors through that DIC claims process and hopefully automating to make those claims process quicker and easier for those survivors. So, you know, proof's in the pudding, as anything with any government bureaucracy.
Secretary Doug Collins said this common sense change streamlines the survivor's claims process, reduces administrative burdens, and delivers quicker decisions to beneficiaries during challenging times. For questions or help and support with the new regulation, the VA advises survivors call the VA benefits hotline at 800-827-1000. That's the same general benefits hotline for all benefits questions. And you can do that and get your answers, your questions answered. So the difference between a DIC and a survivor's pension. The VA says DIC, dependency indemnity compensation, is a tax-free monthly benefit that is paid to eligible surviving spouses, children, and parents of surviving members of service members who died in the line of duty or veterans whose deaths resulted from service-related conditions. Now, here's the funny part, and this is why I read this stuff, because if you were to read this, you would assume that the death has to be resulted from a service-connected condition or the member had to die during service, which is true for DIC, but there's two, I guess, caveats. One, what is service-related death, right? It is not simply cause of death is this, which is also service-connected. Yes, that is true. However, there's two spots on a death certificate, cause of death and contributing cause to death. As long as the service-connected condition is listed there, you should be good to go in either one of those spots. Here's the example. Vietnam veteran, service-connected, presumptive, by the way, for high blood pressure, hypertension, passes away from a heart attack. That heart attack is listed as the cause of death. The hypertension can be added as a contributing cause to death. Therefore, the service-connected hypertension is listed on the death certificate and relates to the cause of death. Therefore, the survivor should be able to receive dependency indemnity compensation. Now, if you just read this, you wouldn't understand that, and you would self-segregate out, which is a horrible mistake. The other piece to this is that there's also a time frame for 100% granted veterans. That if you are 100%, and for the most part, this isn't everybody, there's other versions of this, but for the most part, if you're 100% rated for 10 years, 100%, you do not have to die from a service-connected condition. You could die from anything. Just simply based on the fact you've been rated at 100% for 10 years opens up the pathway for DIC for your survivor. Again, a very, very important piece of the VA survivor benefits aspects.
So make sure if you're even remotely concerned about whether you qualify for DIC or not, make sure you reach out to a qualified claims specialist, or you can contact Life Aid and we can connect you to somebody that can help you make sure that you get what you deserve.
So moving on to the next one here. So again, none of that's written in here. So you would just self-segregate out, which is sad. So I'm not going to be on the soapbox anymore. Okay, now let's move over to survivor's pension as it's written in here. Survivor's pension, by contrast, provides tax-free monthly payments to qualifying surviving spouses and unmarried dependent children of wartime veterans who meet specific income and net worth limits. Okay, yes. Here's the thing. You had to have served 1 day during a designated war period, wartime period. That's it. So you don't have to have been anywhere. You could have been in San Diego, California, the whole time, but you had 1 day during a designated war period, and that opens up the doorway for your survivors to be able to apply for pension. I like to explain survivors' pension as low and no income safety net program, right? A low and no income safety net program for survivors. Now, there are certain things that don't count as income or assets in this. Again, I highly suggest working with an accredited representative to help you complete the applications appropriately. So what happens next? The new regulation follows a broader survivors benefit reform effort, which was launched in 2025 and included a three-pronged approach to eliminate barriers and streamline the process for how eligible survivors and dependents of deceased veterans and service members apply for and receive VA benefits and services. This involved moving the Office of Survivor Assistance into the Office of the VA Secretary, which I had also covered when that happened because I thought that was a great move. Creating a specialized white glove outreach team to guide survivors through the DIC claim process and identifying areas for automation to make the claims process quicker and easier for survivors, which is also great. Veterans barely understand what we're supposed to do, let alone a spouse or dependent that you never talked about any of this stuff with. So I think this is a great effort. Collins said, the last thing survivors need in their time of grief is frustrating red tape and bureaucracy. That's why we're creating a better system to more quickly and effectively provide survivors the services, support, and compassion they've earned. You know what?
Well, let's hope that all works.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm glad that all of that's happening. And I think that is, it was needed, and it's now resolved. This is a great move by the VA, and it's going into effect February 23rd. With that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.
That's great information from Veterans Info Tap. Please make sure you like and subscribe their videos, and stay tuned for more updates as the VA is really trying to revamp and upgrade their service.